Thank you. It took forever to.
Hey,
All right, guys. Welcome to the Game Junction Podcast, episode 33. We are here with our guest, Thinking Inside the Box this week, and we want to go ahead and welcome and him to the podcast. And we also want to go ahead and mention our sponsor. We've got TimelessGamer.net, informs who is here to inform and enlighten video game enthusiasts of all kinds. One of our favorite articles from this week is someone's Nirvana in Utero album with Mario 64 sounds. This article talks about YouTuber Something Is Real and his Super Mario 64 sound recreations of Nirvana albums, and this time my personal favorite. You can check out their website for more articles like this, and let's go ahead and get started.
Yes. So, welcome back, everyone. We have our newest episode, and we're excited to have our special guest today. So, we'll go ahead and
oh yeah,
introduce everyone. How are you doing, Brandon?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Excited for this episode.
Perfect. And I'm doing well as well. So, we'll just jump into it. We have Thinking Inside the Box today.
oh
So,
yeah.
we'll just go
Happy to be here.
ahead. Yes, we will go ahead and introduce you and let everyone know what is it that you actually do.
Hi, I'm thinking inside the box. My biggest project is to preserve the original Xbox boxes and document the library as well as put together lists that revolve around the console itself. Just anything and everything that's Xbox, streaming it, talking about the games, rating them, reviewing them, and putting a spotlight on kind of a system that's become a little lost. Part of the sixth generation being, in my mind, one of the best generations that we've ever had.
It's a great one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in competition for one of the best. No doubt about that.
Oh yeah,
No, I mean, I definitely agree, especially growing up with that and getting the Xbox and just
oh yes,
loving green being like my favorite color, and then you get an Xbox and then it just does all of this amazing stuff with all of these great games. I mean,
right,
it was the time to be alive.
absolutely. This the library itself is something to fall in love with. With the fact that it's so unique, being almost like it was a PC but a console.
Yes.
Very ambitious on Microsoft's attempt to bring it into the gaming world, and they blew it out of the water. It
Hmm.
was incredible,
I
so
agree.
powerful and easy to work with. So it had a great library, stood alongside of the PlayStation and the GameCube, and did an admirable job.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I didn't have an Xbox growing up. It was one of those situations where a friend had it down the road, so every time we played
I gotcha.
Halo and anything on that, it was over at his house, which was countless, countless hours online on the original Xbox Live. We spent
Absolutely, and
so many nights on that.
man, you can't talk about the Xbox without talking about Halo. It's the saving grace of the
Hmm.
console, if we want to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you for sure. The online infrastructure was revolutionary for consoles for sure.
Absolutely.
No, and that's a system. So this is actually a funny story. So, of course, around the holidays, everyone gets, presents from their family and things like that. Well, the year that the Xbox came out, I was so excited. I was for sure thinking that I was going to get one. And my brother opened up his Xbox console for Christmas. And I was looking around like, where's mine?
Oh
And I
no.
didn't get one.
Oh,
And then he didn't even like play his very often at all, and he wouldn't even give me, the console. And then
oh,
like when I was somewhere else most of the time, it's like I didn't really have one. And then the very next year, I guess my parents felt bad. So I ended up getting an Xbox console and I was super happy. It was like, like the best day. So I got it a whole year late, but
oh,
better late than never, I guess.
absolutely. Speaking of late, I had a Nintendo, I had a Nintendo 64 all the way up until 2004. I actually didn't get my first Xbox until Christmas of '04, so the console was practically on its way out
Yeah.
when I finally got one.
Wow.
But like jumping into the next gen, it was like being born. Uh, it, it was just a whole new experience. I'm used to the Nintendo 64. oof. You're used to, 3 polygons every 5 minutes. So, jumping into that and experiencing Halo and Forza, because I'm a big car guy. So, having that at my fingertips was incredible.
Nice.
I mean, isn't it Forza is like the forefront of Xbox now with Halo?
Yes.
It might even be more, I wouldn't say more popular, more known. It might be more popular now. I don't know. Halo's really gone downhill. And Forza's like up there.
Yeah.
Forza's just
Yeah.
like keeps on trekking. It's a great series.
Mhm.
I think it's really pulled ahead just because of Horizon being so accessible with
Mhm.
its simulation slash arcade
Yeah.
and just the variety of things that you can do. Whether you're a car person or not, it's so easy to get into and play, and it's not as serious as the
Yes.
mainline Forza series.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, because I'm not necessarily a car guy myself, but when Forza Horizon or Motorsport or anything, I mean anything Forza comes out, I'm like
Hmm.
super excited. So,
Oh yeah, it's just so fun.
and it even got me diving back into the Gran Turismo series because like I hadn't played anything since I think four was on PS2, right? Believe
Mm.
so. Yeah, I think I was the last
Man,
one
I
I had
can't.
played before, but yeah, it got me diving back into all these car games again that I hadn't cared about for a long time. I mean, I used to love the Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit games, and
Yeah.
all
And
those.
yeah.
But
Oh, dude, yes. The Need for Speed series. I've actually been posting those, the Prima guides that I've collected of those every day that I post. Recently, going through the entire series, I have one left, and it just brings back all the memories of playing those. Hot
Mhm.
absolutely,
Pursuit, Underground One, Underground Two, Most
Yes.
Wanted,
Most Wanted,
Carbon,
yes.
and yeah, it's just the highlight of the series. Obviously, would be Most Wanted.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I love Hot Pursuit too a lot. I played a lot of that game. So,
And I
Oh
love the
yes.
soundtrack and like Underground
oh
and
yeah,
Underground.
Oh
So
man.
many fun memories.
big
Oh
fan.
yeah, the the main menu titles that always played. It's just kind of became the theme song of the game.
Mhm.
So when you hear that menu music, anywhere, you just recant back to that game, and you're just like, ah, the memories.
What has a better soundtrack to you guys? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 or Grand Theft Auto Vice City? Which one has a better soundtrack?
Pro Skater, hands down.
I
Yeah,
agree.
that's what I grew up with.
That might be my
I'd have to pick
favorite
that one.
video game soundtrack of all time. Got me
Yes.
into so many
Wow.
punk bands. Yeah, I love the soundtrack of that game.
Yeah,
So good.
It
that's what got me into it, I think, as well. The Tony Hawk
they
Pro
just
Skater games.
nailed it. Right.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
They nailed the whole culture around skateboarding because I mean that's what we were listening to. We were
Mhm.
Right.
listening to all that stuff, and it's how I learned about. I think skateboarding's how I learned about like CKY and Dead Kennedys, like a little bit of everything in the
Mhm.
punk
Oh
genre
yes.
got me into all that. So big fan.
Oh yeah. Those bands back then, they encompassed what it was to be an outlaw in a way, and just doing what you want to do. And skateboarding was kind of that way.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a whole fun culture behind
Oh yeah.
skateboarding. Love it. But yeah, let's dive into another thing here. So, how did you learn about Game Junction? Get involved in the community. Start talking with everyone, the lounge, and all that stuff. I can't remember exactly how we. I feel like it was
I
probably
can't
like the
remember
Ohio Retro
too
Gamer,
much.
maybe, but
I think it was through that, yeah. And the algorithm just did its thing, and we connected, and um, I think you got a chance to see what I could put out as content, and I saw you guys. You guys definitely hit the ground running for sure, and I started following kind of closely, and I really I liked what you guys were doing, and then I guess that's history.
yeah, definitely. I definitely got pretty captivated when I started seeing your console box variants because like we
Oh
talked
yeah,
just right before we went live, but I love console boxes. So like
Yes.
that really
same.
captivated me, and you capturing and pretty much like cataloging all of these game guides and all the stuff that people haven't done. I mean, people just aren't doing this thing, so it's like totally different, and
Right.
I love it.
And there's other people that have tried to find all the console boxes for the original Xbox, I've I can't even tell you how many hours. It's in the hundreds of hours that I've spent researching archive.net and using VPNs to search, other countries or regions, websites, places, forums, just so on and so forth. And I come across a lot of the same images that some of these people that had the very, uh, valiant effort that they pushed on themselves to collect these images and try and preserve them. That sadly they gave up very quickly because it is very tough. And
Yeah.
these people, a lot of them started 10 years before I did, and it was hard then. So now it's a game of cat and mouse. This person's selling this in Spain or Taiwan or something like that, and you gotta type into Google Translate,
Mhm.
"Hey, would you be willing to send me pictures and not seem like a scammer or something?" It's kind of
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, I can only
But
imagine with all those variations. I mean, I just didn't even know that there were that many variations in so many
yes,
countries. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Blows me away.
and I didn't either. But it kind of cues you into like how marketing works. Obviously, the Xbox, if you go back through the catalog that I've posted so far, and once I release everything, I'm not done yet. I just posted my 117th box variant, and I have in my mind about 180 different boxes. And this
Wow.
isn't this isn't completely all custom printed boxes. There's very many that are the standard box with a decal on the
Yeah.
front that
Mhm.
tells you what's included.
Yes.
But going back on what I was saying, with the US, majority of all boxes are just the base retail box. Same goes for Mexico and Canada. They just have a decal on the front that tells you, this is what's included. It's nothing really exciting, but it is a variant. So
Mhm.
there's that. Now, with other countries like the PAL region and NTSCJ, those and even specific countries and regions have their own custom printed boxes and lots of them. Some familiarities, and it's really cool to see. And that goes back on the marketing. The Xbox didn't really have to try hard to sell here, but it had
Right.
to try very hard to sell on a market dominated by the Nintendo and dominated by Sony. Those markets were ones that were very hard to get into, and they needed
Mhm.
to have that flash. And a lot of preservation hasn't been done in those regions for the console boxes, and there's just so many more that are so cool looking, and I think it deserves to be preserved in some regard, whether
Mhm.
physical or at least, as a visual reference on the internet. Hey,
Sure.
look at this is what they had to offer. I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I got to thinking a little bit earlier, and it just feels like there's not as much preservation efforts put forth for anything Xbox related as much as especially
Not
not as
really.
much as Nintendo. But I mean, even
Mhm.
with PlayStation, like it just does not seem like it's there. And I,
Oh man, yeah, I could complain all day about how Nintendo's taken care of. Everything's treated like a newborn baby when it comes to Nintendo, but anyone else, it's chopped liver.
yeah, it's like Disney. I mean, they're like
Oh
Disney
man,
now.
yeah.
It's like trying to compete with Disney. It just doesn't. It's crazy. Yeah, they definitely dominate the market for sure. As much as I love Nintendo, I still love I love all these other companies because like my favorite consoles are mostly ones that people don't care about or even know about. So like, I totally
Oh
get
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. And even when it came to like you said with preservation or even the inclusion of the Xbox back when it first came out, my Prima guides, as you would see back there, I created the only lists that are in existence that I know of that detail every version
Mhm.
and every Prima guide that included the Xbox as a console covered on the games that Prima covered. This isn't a complete list of every Prima guide for the games that came out on the Xbox and other consoles because
Mhm.
the Xbox wasn't included in every one of those. Even if it had a release, sometimes Prima didn't include it in the roster of consoles covered, which is kind of odd. But I think putting that out there for anyone who wants to collect a full series set I've paved the way for that, and I can
Mhm.
share that on my Google Drive because I've put it together. That, and for Brady Games guides, of course. So that's another thing that I wanted to cover too. On top of the boxes, is game guides seem to be left to the wayside. I've joined some Reddit groups and some collecting groups that they're very small, and there might be one or two active users on. Guides just don't seem to have much traction either, and I think they're a very important part of gaming history as a whole, from like the late 80s all the way up until when they kind of died out or in the late 2000s. They they were pretty big,
Yeah.
when people didn't have the internet, or it was kind of still a niche thing to have it, but guides were there for you. I mean, even
Mhm.
GameFAQs published full game walkthroughs
Yep.
and printed them. Before now you can just click on GameFAQs and you can find whatever guide you want. I used it actually when I played through and recorded the podcast for Silent Hill, Restless Dreams.
Nice.
Some of those guides are so good, and
Oh yeah.
back when the internet wasn't really much of a thing, that's all you had. So the guides are definitely, to me, a big part of the history and something that I want to preserve, or at least give something to the community for.
No, I mean that's great to hear because a lot of that stuff I feel like we're just like losing that touch with like
Yes,
where we came from. So, it's great to see someone who has this as like their passion project. It's not just something that you're doing, it's like something that you
absolutely.
care about, you're passionate about, and something that you love. So I think that's really great. That's kind of what we need more of in this whole
Appreciate it.
community. So I think that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah. We're.
Especially since
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
I was just saying, especially since the two things that I'm covering with most of my passion are very fragile. The guidebooks are very fragile. You get them wet one time, they're junk.
Yeah.
They're gone.
They get torn, they get sun faded very
Mhm.
easily. It's like they have to be put in climate controlled areas. Same for the
Mhm.
boxes. The boxes are just as fragile.
I agree.
They get wet once, they're junk.
Yep,
You peel a sticker off wrong, you've ripped half the box art off.
gone.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, we're definitely very preservation positive
Oh yeah.
with everything that we talk and do about with retro. Like me and Gamer Aimer talk all the time about all this stuff, and we definitely want to kind of put our foot in with anything preservation related. So
Yes. So I'm all
Oh yeah.
for it. And then
yeah.
we have some people in the comments already in the chat. So we have Carl who stopped by, he said howdy. We even have Warhead 900 saying hey. We do have someone called Blasting Skulls. Then we even have Warhead 900 is saying, "Hey now, love Nintendo products." So that's when we were kind of saying that, Nintendo gets all the love and every other system gets a lot of hate, but
No
they're
hate,
all
just
equal, okay?
Xbox gets treated like a stepchild sometimes.
It does all the time. I agree. It does.
So we'll
Which,
kind of
by the
jump
way,
back. Oh,
love
what were
seeing
you
the
saying?
bag behind you there.
Oh yeah,
What was it?
the
Oh
back,
yeah.
the Xbox bag.
Yeah. That's one you can make out too because you just see that green and you automatically know
That
exactly what it
can we
is.
just talk about how captivating that green is? I mean, that green is
Mm-hmm.
just
Love
like
it.
the
Absolutely.
perfect color of green.
That's like my favorite color.
It's so good. What do they call it? Like hunter green, or they have like a it's like a name for it. I
It's
remember them
something
reference.
along that line.
Yeah,
I believe it's like a forest green or hunter green.
yeah, love that color.
So we'll go ahead and jump it back here. We'll go ahead and ask you this question. What are your first gaming memories? So we want to take it back to the early
Okay.
days.
Back to the early days. All right. I'm glad I prepared myself for this. My early gaming days, my first console that I actually played before I ever owned one was a Sega Genesis.
Oh,
And
cool.
it earned a special place in my heart for the Sega. Um, and I think that's what fueled my fire for the Xbox because of their collusion together, if that's the right word to use. Working together when the Xbox came out,
Yep.
and when I upgraded to that, it became amazing. But I loved playing Road Rash 2.
Yes.
and Aladdin and Lion King on
Mm.
the Sega Genesis so much. And like even when they remastered and brought them back, I think it was Aladdin and Lion King. They brought them back out. I snatched that up right away and completed them 100% on my new Xboxes just to play them again.
Nice.
It's always an enjoyable experience, and yeah, I pretty much can say that the Genesis has my heart for the most favorite console in that genre
Mhm.
or in that generation, or at least retro wise. I don't have much experience with anything other than Sega and a little bit of Nintendo 64. Well, not a little bit, but a lot of Nintendo 64. Before that was a little bit of Super Nintendo, some
Right.
Donkey Kong Island or Country.
Yeah, love Donkey Kong Country. There is Donkey Kong Land too, though, on the Game Boy. I
There
get
we
those
go.
mixed up all the time. Yeah, I love Donkey Kong Country.
But yeah, that's my earliest memories of playing console, and that was my grandmother's console for my two aunts. So whenever was over there for man, this is deep throwback back when the Pizza Hut stuffed crust first came out, and uh, staying over at grandma's on the weekend was a thing. We'd rent some movies, we'd rent some games, and I'd go ham on the Sega Genesis. No one else got to touch it but me.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Do you guys remember when Pizza Hut used to do the movies? They gave away the movies with pizzas.
Yeah,
I got Bill. That's how I watched Bill and Ted for the first time. Yeah, I got it with
we ended up getting
Pizza.
Mr. Mom, I
Yes,
think.
Mr. Mom was the other one we got. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta find those again. I'd like to track those down. I wore that Bill and Ted disc out. I don't know what it
dang,
was.
that was out of left field there. That was a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Pizza Hut used to be like the fun place. They'd have like the little
They
fireplace in the
did.
middle, and we would have birthday parties there.
We had
Like
arcade
that was
arcade
Yeah,
it was
units in
like
ours.
a
We'd
cool
have like
place. Yeah.
it was so cool.
yeah. I just remember like the dingy tiles and the greasy smell and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I
The red
the
carpet.
best.
Great. It was the best, dude.
Miss those days. We don't
Those
have
were
anything
the
like
days.
we don't have anything like that anymore. Love it.
No, now it's all artesian
Yeah, most are like to go places.
for the
Like
most part,
around here,
right?
they don't even have like a dining room.
Yeah, ours doesn't
Oh
either.
man,
Just
yeah.
it's
Our
carry
last
out
buffet
only.
just closed like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Huh. Man, we miss the good old days.
Oh yeah,
Oh, we didn't know how good we had it, man. We didn't know how good we had it.
definitely did not.
So with
So
those,
oh, go ahead.
oh, are you asking the next question?
I was going to ask. Yeah. So, what type of games are you playing now? Only playing Xbox? Are you checking out anything new?
I stick with the older stuff and more niche games. Me currently, um, on the original Xbox, I plan to play a couple different ones. I want to get into the 50 Cent game on the
Okay.
Xbox Bulletproof and play through that. I have the guide for it, obviously, and I would love to check that out and see how the guide translates to the game and just play it just because it's kind of one of those games on the console that is a little infamous or famous,
Yeah,
for being not only garbage but kind of fun.
it's fun
So I'd like to
garbage.
play that. Right, exactly. It's that kind of game, and it had a sequel in ways, or a
Blood in the
second entry in
sand.
the series, Blood in the Sand.
Yeah.
Right, and me being an achievement hunter, I play a lot of games on my 360, and so jumping from that and then going into the next one, see how those translate and correspond with each other would be kind of neat.
Yes.
Uh, Currently, though, I think the last thing I played on the original Xbox was Mission Impossible Operation Surma.
Okay.
You want to talk about garbage? Yeah.
I've never played that one. I have it
That
on
was a
the
great.
shelf, but it doesn't look good.
No, no, it really it falls short very much so. The game, I actually got it as a kid and just revisited it for my podcast. And 18 years later, man, it's definitely a case of nostalgia blinders, as I like to call it. I
Yeah.
remember it being great, but playing it as an adult with, a new heightened sense of good and bad, it's definitely like, man, what was I thinking?
We've got this joke, me and my brother, all the time. We got Scorpion King on the GameCube as a kid, and
Oh
we thought the
my.
game was so good. Like I played through the game like 4 or 5 times, and it's not good. I went back and played it. It's probably one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. So bad.
Jeez.
About as good as the graphics of The Rock in that movie.
Oh my god, yeah. Talk about a mess. Have you seen the
Oh,
50 cent bulletproof it's like this. It's not a special edition. It was like a promotional
With the
copy
case,
with
the cover.
yeah, with the bulletproof
that
vest
has
on
the
the cover.
bulletproof vest on the case.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yes.
crazy? How much
It's so
that's
cool.
going for
There's a
crazy
couple
money.
versions. There's quite a few collectors I know of that have a version of that, and it's really cool to see.
Oh
And you
yeah.
know what? Those special games like that. I believe that Far Cry uh, Instincts
Yeah,
has
instinct. Yeah.
a vest on it as well.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
version of it with a like a desert tan vest
Hmm.
on it. It's really cool.
I haven't seen
So
that one.
that's like those two. Um, Little shout out here, Gamebox dot underscore UKV or Gamebox UKV. He's got a lot of that really niche collector item stuff. Definitely want to check him out.
Oh yeah. Check it
That's
out
awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
for sure. Yeah. So
I got a question for you guys
yeah,
actually.
go for it.
A case of the nostalgia blinders too. Um, Once again, let's see, going off of how it felt to play Scorpion King. What's another story you got, Brandon, and what's one that you have?
Um, like as far as like another game that I've gone back and played, it's not good.
Yeah.
Mm.
You remember it being great. You were like, man, I want to play this. You hop
Yeah,
into it. You're like, what?
Wayne's World on the Game Boy. That was a pretty
Oh,
bad game.
man.
I loved that
Okay.
game as a kid, but it's pretty bad. I talked about that one recently with somebody. There's a lot of those
Oh,
movie
God.
games though, right? So those are always like
Yeah.
Right.
the cheaper games to
Cash
get.
grabs.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those. Man, I had what SeaWorld on the GameCube.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
mess. I went back and played that terrible game.
Ugh. I
There's a
can only imagine how lazy that was.
Oh yeah, it was awful. There's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, Wayne's World one definitely stood out. I loved it as a kid and went back and
Okay.
played it. It's
What about you, Brandy?
pretty bad.
I have to think on that one. Nothing's like really popping out right now. I feel like
Okay.
I've played tons of bad games though, but I don't
It's
know.
like, can't really think of or narrow it down to something from your childhood that was great back then, but is terrible now when you come back to it.
See, I also feel like I always have that nostalgia blocker like thing on.
Hmm.
So I don't think I could admit that things are bad games.
Oh, I
All right.
can.
All right. I get you.
Because I also focus in on like the memories that I had, and I think that like sometimes overweighs and like clouds my judgment of, well, I had a lot of fun and it took a lot of time and investment, playing it, but I can't think of it'll hit me later.
All right.
Like
All
when you're laying down at night and next thing you know you're like, that's the game. It hits you at the weirdest time.
right.
I mean, what about? Do you think that like this is always a debatable one? Have you played Zelda 2? Do you think that's a good game? Because I mean, I had that as a kid. Liked it as a kid. I was confused. The game was very confusing, but
Yeah, I think I was a little confused.
going back and playing it, it's
Hmm.
I don't like it. I love Zelda. It's my favorite series, but not a fan.
What about Mega Man? I thought Mega Man was your favorite
Mega Man
series.
and Zelda. I go back and forth between the two. Yeah,
He doesn't know.
it's hard to say. I switch it up all the time. No, it is mostly Mega Man, but even Mega Man, there's games I played there that's bad. I had a Mega Man PC game, Mega Man 2 for
Oh,
PC, and it's like this DOS port. and they kind of
Oh,
designed it from the ground up, and it runs at like 10 frames a second. It's a pretty bad game. Gone
yeah.
back and played it.
Whew.
There's some bad games that are in the Mega Man series too. So
I think I have a game. So I'll never admit that it's bad though. Back in the day on the Nintendo 64, I used to love playing Fighting Force 64. And my friend had it, and I would always go across the alley to her house, and we would play it all the time. I'd bring my controller, bring my memory card, and I'd just like go running across the street, and I used to play it all the time. And I don't know if we ever like quite beat the game. And then I bought it, as I got older. And then I started looking up reviews,
Ah,
and people said that it was so bad because they didn't like fully finish it.
it's bad.
And it was supposed to be, like a different type of like fighting game, like in a series, but then they kind of
right.
like made it into Fighting Force 64. But to me, it'll never be bad. I
I,
would say, but it is probably a bad game, and there's plenty of other like fighting beat 'em up style games that are way better than that. But to me, it'll always be like top tier.
I've got one very similar to that, and
All right.
I have the same point of view as you. War Gods for the 64.
Yep.
I It's also very nostalgic
All
for
right.
that game, and it's generally hated and not liked at all. But like I stand firm on enjoying
Okay.
that game. I just tweeted out at one of the developers of that game. I'm talking about, hey, we need a sequel to this game. Like, what can we do? Who
That's
has the
one way to get them
license?
to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Uh,
I also didn't realize that it was some of the same team that worked on some of the Mortal Kombat games. So pretty crazy.
Hmm.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something that's cool. Going through, at least for what I'm doing, I play through the games and then do a full rundown with actually my buddy who's in the chat right now, Warhead 900. He's a co-host on my podcast, and
All right on.
we get to look at what studios were involved and what their history was and where they went on from there, where they came from. We do a whole rundown the first segment of our podcast, and it's really cool to see like how many different studios are involved with what they're involved with, where they came from, where they went, and you know, if, like even with a name change, like, you don't really take into account, such and such made this or published that, but earlier they were a titan and you would have never known, or
Hmm.
they were the ones that birthed your favorite series and you wouldn't know, or a series that you hold dear to your heart, and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool, and then it makes you look into a whole new rabbit hole
Hmm.
where you're digging deep into their archives, seeing like what they were involved with, and then if you have a modded console or something like that, you can just go and play those games, and it's really neat. Like one of them I found out about was Bizarre Creations, how they got their start. Their name wasn't that they first came up with wasn't, I guess, marketable. I can't remember exactly what their first name was, but before they were signed, they were told to change their name,
Hmm.
and they were known for creating Wiz and Liz way back in the day. I think on the Sega Genesis and so forth. And then they came out to the original Xbox and were behind the Project Gotham series.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, it's so
Hmm.
weird with like licenses and different things with these game series.
Right.
Like you'll end up finding out that like a Persian prince owns the rights to this game. Like it's all over the place with like these weird companies that like will never do
Yes.
anything with the property or anything. I mean, it's just they're crazy. Retro franchises or a lot of those games that were even just one-off games, like that the license for that
Mm-hmm.
game is like sold to somebody that's just like sitting on it, or basically non-existent company over here, and it's all over the place,
Right.
that stuff. So
Well, just look at GoldenEye. How much of a tremendous pain
yes.
that was to get that back out. And then the amount of red tape it took for them to all agree on different stipulations that made the game, you know, not so much fun for this group of people, but more fun for this group of people, but they gave up for this, and then these guys got this, but they gave up for that. With how Nintendo got online, but the controls are crap, and then the Xbox got
Hmm.
no online, but the controls are amazing.
Yeah.
And then it took 25 years to bring the game back, just because, let's see, Rare was involved, Nintendo was involved,
Yes.
MGM was involved, Microsoft. There's so many fingers in the pie it just makes it so much more complicated, and everyone wants to have, their greedy portion or agenda put to the, part of it. I want this much, I want that much. It just makes it so difficult. I really wish
Yeah.
they could work together a lot more to put out these games, and agree on some kind of a cut that wouldn't be to where it would mess it up for some groups of people, because we do have the console wars still going on. And as you know, with the whole Activision Blizzard acquisition stuff, and Sony and Nintendo all barking at each other for that. And
Hmm.
it's just, I wish they could all get along a lot better, because it would benefit the gamers as a whole.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah, definitely agree with that. The whole thing with GoldenEye is a huge disaster mess.
Oh yeah.
And these games too that have like licensed songs, like that's a whole thing too,
Mm-hmm.
because like they're you
Right.
can never really get that soundtrack back. Like it's not going to happen. People have tried with these games, and
Oh
you'll
yeah.
like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Look at the HD collection. They had like just a few of the artists that were even in like the original game. So it's like it's a mess getting the rights for all that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, even if you do manage to get your classic game back, and it's not only, a remake, or, a remaster, you won't get the soundtrack back. So it somewhat kills the nostalgia a little bit.
Hmm.
Licensing's just a mess. I hate licensing so much.
It's terrible.
No, I mean, I
But
definitely
yeah.
agree with that. And we have Carl saying, I have gone back and played loads of games when I was a kid. Fortunately, more have been as much fun or more fun now, which is really cool. Like Brandy, I remember how much fun I had when I was a kid. So I'm not the only one. And
Oh,
then we have the Retro
oh
Coop
yeah.
coming in. I love Fighting Force for the PS1. Had a fun month or so, hooked on it. Played it with my little cousin when he was around as well. And playing it these days, it's pretty janky. I mastered its flaws back then, though. And then we have, okay, he also continues, the second Fighting Force was just trash. I didn't get to play it till years later.
Uh,
And then always thinking it was probably fun as well. Nope, it was totally different. Yeah, I don't think I could get into it because I don't think it was like the same either. So I didn't
yeah.
really play through that.
I've never played 2. I didn't even know there was a
Yeah.
second one, to be honest with you.
I just remembered, I have a somewhat controversial, deep, I can't admit that it's not good love for a game on Nintendo 64 as well.
Huh.
Vigilant 8 Second Offense.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
freaking love that game.
Yeah,
it's
It
fun.
is one that I will play the rest of my life.
I liked it
And
a lot.
a lot of people look down on it and say that it was garbage and the first one was better, and blah 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 blah. I think it was better. I think it was way better.
I'm trying to remember what I played both a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember
Trying to
which
remember
one's which.
what's yeah. I can't remember really the difference
Play 'em.
between the second one and the first one. Really.
The
Yeah, I'll
second
play
one
back
was
over to
much
figure
more
it out.
disco like.
Hmm.
Very much so. And it had the Florida NASA launch pad, and then the desert with the
Hmm.
giant meteor you could blow up, and there was a giant ant in it that shot laser beams out.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it. I like those games a lot. I hear a lot of
Well,
people
good. I'm among friends.
saying good things. Maybe they're talking just about the first. I don't know, but I definitely notice there's a crowd of people that like that series.
So, do you guys have a favorite game or a game that you would like to see them remake or like add more to? That's
Hmm.
from like I guess like the Xbox, GameCube, PlayStation 2, like any of those era.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I say mine is Freedom Fighters.
That's a good one.
Okay, Freedom Fighters. That's not bad.
That's a
There's a
game I
guide for
used to
that.
play with my brother, and I remember we loved it. And then we went around, so back
Hmm.
before I started collecting games, we went around to all these different like retro game stores like way back in the day trying to find it. And we finally found it, and then we bought another system so that we could go back and play it again. And we were like, why did they never make, a new one?
Yeah, I don't know. Who developed that game?
Hmm.
Uh,
Nobody
I don't know
knows.
all the.
I've got one that they actually did a remake for, and it's terrible. 13. I really love that game,
Oh
Okay.
man.
but the remake was a mess. Terrible. Just an absolute mess.
Oh,
Garbage game. Ran like crap. Like damn near unplayable.
oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Developed by IO Interactive and Electronic Arts.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
GameCube,
Yeah, I didn't know EA did that.
PS2, Xbox. 2003. I had fun with it.
Yeah, it's a
You
cool
know,
one.
not specifically for Xbox. It died on the Xbox. But the San Francisco Rush series that started on the Nintendo 64
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
Midway. Their last game was LA Rush on the Xbox, and it was not good. I'd love to see that series be revived
hmm
and make a comeback, just because I love racing games. I used to try to beat world records, in tracks and different games for fun, and I find myself still trying to do so whenever I get hooked on one. I would love to see that series make a comeback and reach its former glory just because of the features that they added later on
Sure.
down. And it was just like a quick romp, get in there, get out racing game. And it had more to offer than just racing. You had the stunt mode. Later iterations, you had battle mode. So it encompassed like all the good things about racing games that were making it accessible.
For
The
sure.
arcade gameplay, vehicular combat, stunt mode, and then it had collectibles too. So it was just an all-around, well-rounded series all the way up until the Xbox.
Yeah, I've never played that one on the Xbox. I love 2049. The game's.
Oh man,
I
yes,
really like that game, but I have not played
it
that
is.
Xbox one.
Uh, the first one and 2049, I believe, are in the Midway Arcade Classics or Midway Arcade Treasures version 3. So you
Oh,
could
okay.
play those essentially on disc.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Huh,
that. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. That'd be fun to go back to. It's been a while.
Oh yeah.
nice.
We
And then we
got.
have Warhead 900 was saying Pokemon Coliseum and Gale of Darkness. So
I
I
w-
would love that as a remaster.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
Me too. That'll
He's a
never
big
happen though.
Pokemon fan. He's a diehard Pokemon fan. He's got a great collection.
Nice.
Oh, we could definitely get along then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we were all a part of the Pokemon craze here.
Yeah,
So we
the
were, yeah.
Pokemania veterans.
I was in the beginning, but extremely religious and strict family kind of killed that for me.
I had a whole stint with the religious thing with Pokemon because there was this
Oh
thing
yeah.
where they were trying to say it was like satanic and
Yes.
the red from the Pokeball and stuff was
Mhm.
like
Oh
symbolic of
dude.
all this crazy stuff
I don't. Yeah.
and
I don't know if you know this guy, but the Act Man on YouTube,
yes
he
yep
did a big video on the
I watched
sensationalism
it.
and propaganda behind that kind of stuff back in the day, and it was spot on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I'm around that kind of area where it's very conservative, and they weren't welcoming
Oh yeah.
Pokemon or Harry Potter or even Lord of the Rings, any of that stuff.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh, yes, that was the other one. Those were all the
Yeah.
big ones. They were not welcoming of any of that stuff.
Right. Right.
It was a I couldn't even go see the first two Harry Potter movies in the theater. I wasn't allowed. So
Wow.
Oh wow.
No,
yeah,
I'm
Yeah, I
in a
never
whole
got exposure to that
different
stuff.
area. All that stuff is fully welcomed, and I didn't have any issues. I didn't know that that was a thing. I
oh
guess
god,
Oh
when
yeah,
yeah,
it was a big problem.
yeah,
That
huge.
probably is the reason why, like, after like the first Pokemon movie or the second one, I never got the chance to do anything Pokemon wise again. Really,
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh was a whole thing too. Like there was a
I love Yu-Gi-Oh.
I did too. I don't. There was just like somebody, a pastor or something, did like a sermon, and then talking about these like locally
Yep.
here, And
That's
so
all it
after that,
takes.
my mom took all my Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, threw them all away. And
Yep,
luckily, I still had shoebox of some good stuff and everything. But she took the
that's
one
the way.
binder, thought she took
Under
all
the
of them.
floorboards.
Oh
Oh, yeah, man. Well, I wish I had all those cards still. I'd
man,
be doing well.
oh man, yeah. And that's another thing too. Like back when we were kids, the stuff that we got, how we treated it. Oh
Oh yeah,
man,
my Charizard
if we had only
was all
known,
bent up. I played with it.
right? If we had our little crystal ball back then, we could have been rolling in it now.
Which is
It
insane.
hurts me that I ripped up all those game boxes and threw them all away. Like it hurts me now. I think about it
Oh, it
sometimes.
hurts
I'm like,
me.
oh, God, so cringy. Just ripped
Yeah.
open
Oh
Super
man.
Mario Brothers 3 in the package.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I was always
Just
good
just
about
stop.
my boxes and stuff. It's just when I got to like a certain age, I just decided to like sell the stuff. But my stuff was like pristine, crisp condition. I was so like OCD about everything.
Well, cases I
And
did good with, but the cardboard
Yes.
boxes were the issue. Like
no,
cases
I'm
were.
talking about everything.
Oh well, that's
Yeah.
Boxes,
cool.
everything.
That's cool for sure. Yeah, the boxes, no, like Game Boy Color specifically, I can remember just ripping all those open, throwing them away immediately, putting the game in and
See,
playing.
it's just like I said. No one cares about the
We,
boxes, and that's exactly why you got to be preserved.
yeah, yeah, kept the manual in the game. That's it.
Yeah, because of
Oh,
you, stuff needs to be
Oh,
preserved
all right,
today.
I'm out.
ouch, ouch. I can say like my entire collection of Nintendo 64 games back when I was a kid. I had a lot of them. You know, I recall specifically not having any
Mhm.
of the boxes left over, and it sucks that I didn't like. I just discarded the box like it was a wrapper.
Yeah, me too. I mean, and the thing was, like, even if I wanted to as a kid, I don't think my parents would have let me. We just didn't have the space. I think they were trained to just throw their Atari boxes and stuff away like it wasn't a thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would have thrown it away whether I tried to save it or not. To be honest with you, we had like so little space as a kid, like sharing
You know what?
room and stuff like that. So
One of our viewers, the Retro Coop, he he brings up a really good point that the Genesis had cases.
yes,
I really wish Nintendo kept doing that. They were already heavily involved in sticking with cartridges. What's a little bit more plastic, huh?
and we kept Genesis cases too
Yeah,
because
we
they were
did too. We
cases.
we kept those.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I don't even want loose Genesis games.
No,
But I'll take loose Super Nintendo, Nintendo,
right.
N64.
it
I'll take all those
yeah
because like I don't like the cardboard stuff as much, you know. I love the cases for Sega Master System, Sega Genesis. I mean, I even like
Mm-hmm.
the Saturn cases. Although if you drop
they're
one
my
and
favorite
They're
cases,
cracked.
make
but
it
they're the
another, they all
worst.
break.
Saturn has the best
They're the
cases. Yes.
coolest cases of any video game system. I stand behind that. But
Amen.
they're also the
100%.
worst to preserve and
Yep.
keep
Oh yeah.
protected. Like if yeah, they're terrible, absolutely terrible.
I don't collect because of the cost, but like I can't just walk past a display filled with the games. Whenever I see a whole bunch of those together, I'm magnetized to it, and I'll be
Yeah,
looking at them, and I turn it around, and there's a crack from top to bottom. I'm like, damn.
No.
I love looking at. Yeah, I don't. I'm not actively collecting Sega CD or Saturn either anymore.
Hmm.
But I'm sure at some point down the line I will again. But I've got a way to like play those, in the consoles. They're modded and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
So as long as I have access to the games, plus the cost. But I'll say that yeah, the Sega CD and Saturn cases are just beautiful. And I'm the same way. I can't just
Absolutely.
walk past them and not look. Like let
Oh
me
yeah.
see. Let me see what's going on in there. You got Magic Knight, Ray Earth, any of those $1,000 games.
Oh man. And that's really only if they're complete in box, as we're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, for sure.
It's just too bad the older cases had such freaking fragile corners. It's
Oh, true.
when I look at sometimes I tend to drift off and start looking at other consoles, and I'll see complete in box Sega Genesis games and so on, and the corners are always busted off, and it's like, yep, that's typical.
Yeah, Genesis cases, the tabs always break off real easy.
Yes,
And I
Hate
that's a
was
big
that.
thing.
when I was like
Yep.
going hard on Genesis collecting, like I wouldn't buy it if the tab was ripped off. Like that's
I
how
hear you.
crazy I was with the collecting for it. But yeah, it's there's always issues with those cases too.
Oh yeah, I
I
bought
agree.
both of the Beauty and the Beast games complete in box for my wife for Christmas,
Oh, cool.
and I could not find for a justifiable price one that had not had the tab broken off. So I got one with the tab complete, like beautiful, practically brand new, and I got another one with the tab broken off, but everything else was perfect.
Yeah. Frankenstein the boxes together.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, that's what I do. And then I'll buy like the cheap little like PlayStation 1 games or sports titles or cheap
Oh yeah.
sports, Genesis or Saturn, just so I can kind of like mix some of the better cases.
Oh yeah. I know that happens so much. So I was just in a retro store not long ago, and there was a copy of a I think a fairly common Xbox game, and it still had the little like the sticker on the front of it that seals it over
Oh yeah.
underneath the cellophane. It had that just sliced down the middle, and the case was beautiful, not a scratch on it. And I was like, man, I would swap that case in a heartbeat.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, audio cut out there. Yeah, I definitely agree. But I always used to buy like loose games to just kind of piece stuff together. When I would
Hmm.
buy it and just kind of buy the manual separately and cases like that. I'd just Frankenstein everything together.
I'd say that's much easier to do with cartridges than it is with CDs, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. 100%.
No, I agree. And we got some people in the chat. I think we missed a couple comments. So we
Oh,
have the Retro Coop saying, "Yeah, it's rare to hear good things about Fighting Force nowadays, so that was funny to hear Brandy's story. LOL. Just enjoying the stream while I play on the Switch. Currently hooked
hmm.
on Cybernator Uncut, released by M2. It's called Assault Suit Falcon, declassified for Switch Digital. It has the official strategy guide in it, all translated in English, etc., manuals, CD covers, and of course the artwork, music player, and a new interview from the art designer, 25 bucks.
Nice.
That actually sounds interesting.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then
Cool.
they put Cybernator is better than Metal Warriors. I mean, for the price alone, that
Yeah,
definitely helps.
Hmm.
for sure.
And then Retro Coop was like, geez, LOL, you guys were rippers about the boxes being destroyed.
Yes.
I was a Genesis kid, so we always kept our cases and boxes for the consoles. My dad taught me well. And
Yeah.
then Warhead 900 was saying, I save all my boxes over the years. Luckily, still have my original Sega Genesis complete in box that was my dad's and later given to me. That's awesome.
That is cool.
Oh
And
yeah.
then Retro Coop was saying, Genesis kids had more class than Nintendo kids. LOL, joking. And then the war will never end.
Never. Yeah,
It's a
so
constant battle.
it is for sure. I agree. I wanted to bring it up because we talked about it a few times. We talked about music. I wanted to dive
Oh
into
yeah.
that real quick. Kind of talk a little bit about maybe some of the music that you used to like. It seemed like we were kind of on the same level with some of that stuff. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, very much so. I'd say my musical upbringing was nothing but Christian music, country, and jazz. And I kind of branched out on my own and picked up a local rock station from where I grew up that sadly ended in 2015. But anyway, that's what really was my inspiration for picking up music. It was alternative rock, it was grunge rock, new age rock, just any kind of rock. Except it was probably like Slipknot on down.
Sure.
Um, was about as heavy as it got, and I just grabbed hold to it and loved it, and then expounded from there. I had a lot of oldies too growing up from my grandparents' side. I listened to everything from the 50s and 40s all the way up to the 90s. So I had a pretty good exposure, but with majority being jazz and so forth. And it kind of created like this whole world of music for me really, and I my music taste is all over the place.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, I'm all over
Hmm.
the place too. I like a little bit in everything, but definitely, the alternative music from that time. So,
Oh
grunge
yeah,
is obviously where my heart at is still today. But
amen to that.
the new metal stuff. So we got into all that, the Limp Bizkits and some of the stuff we were talking about before, obviously like Slipknot and stuff, and I even Brandy, very much got into all
Yeah,
that as well. So it's cool
Yes.
stuff.
I
Product.
remember one band that's rock that I actually love, and they're relatively new from what I remember. I went to a Chevelle concert years ago, and
Okay.
they were an opening act for them. Highly Suspect. They're still
Yes,
making really good stuff.
I like
Great
them
band.
a lot.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I didn't get into them until just a couple of years ago, but yeah, I
yeah.
like them. They're cool. Didn't
Yeah, I
it?
think I heard of that tour or whatever that was going around. So there was there was like a time where I was scoping out as many different artists that I wanted to go see in concert, and I think I do remember when Chevelle was touring with Highly Suspect. I'm
That's
Oh
cool.
pretty
yeah,
sure I
yeah.
saw that.
They were out here at the Hollywood Casino, and I went alone. None of my friends could make it, and it was a blast either way. Got a lot of beer spilt on my legs and all that, but it was a good time.
I saw Chevelle play with 10 Years and Seether. I saw him play it
Oh,
at
that
a.
would have been a
It was a good.
badass
It
show.
was a really good show. It was around the time that Seether had just dropped Country Song, so like they were
Okay,
banging on the radio again. Like that was kind of like their comeback song. So that
riding the
was a
hype
that was a
train.
yeah, it was a cool show.
Sweet.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get ready to dive back into some news again for this week, but I did want to ask you future plans and goals for what you're doing and things you've got in the horizon.
Well, for me, I want to finish remastering the images that I've posted so far of the boxes and continue working with collectors and sellers that I've found to get more images to have a better catalog. So not only just the front of the box, the sides, the top, the bottom, and the back. I want to have as thorough set as possible to document. And I have a website, but I haven't finished it yet.
Hmm.
It's always being pulled here or there in the project, and I would just eventually really like to be able to host all that on my website and have that as the
Yes.
definitive Xbox catalog of boxes and expound on that with my podcast, the game reviews, as well as posting up the Prima guides. I photograph the Prima guides in the booth that I work out of, and I edit them and put them on a custom background. And I think they need to be put on a pedestal. So
Hmm.
I want to complete my Brady Games guide set. I want to complete my Prima guide set, which is actually at 194 out of 212. So I'm
Wow.
almost there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Cool.
close.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. Somewhat expensive, somewhat enduring, and I want to eventually showcase all these guides along with the list and have that preserved as well, and
Nice.
hopefully provide some kind of a inspiration to other people to do the same thing for other consoles. Just being one guy, I can't cover Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64, and PlayStation 2, and there's so many other beautiful box variants all
Yeah.
over the
Hmm.
world.
Oh yeah.
It's not just the Xbox. It's just the Xbox just seems to be thrown to the wayside for the most part, more so than others.
Right.
And my mission is not just to preserve the Xbox, but to also bring a spotlight on preservation. And I would like to encourage more people to get out there and try to do the footwork and research too. If they love a specific console, go for it. There's a whole world waiting, and many people that have never seen more than just the console or the games. There's way more to the console than just that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I've got a buddy. He was actually a podcast guest, Patrick Hickey Jr. He is writing all these books about different genres, specific consoles.
Oh yeah,
Talking with all the developers and doing all this stuff, and I really
awesome.
really want to see him be able to do. I mean, there's got to be for something like that. There's got to be interest for it, but I would love to see
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
some stuff covered for the Turbo Graphics because I think that there's not enough out there for anything like
There isn't
NEC
much.
related. So, and like I have a real soft spot for that system specifically. So, yeah, I would love to see people do something similar that you are to, for other
Yeah.
consoles and stuff. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Just a last little tidbit there. There's a for a good reference. There's a few collectors that collect entire Nintendo 64s, just all versions. Nintendo Down Under or something like that. Guy
Yeah.
has a
He has a
crazy
lot of
collection.
boxes.
Oh yeah,
He has
yeah.
almost every boxed
It's
Nintendo
crazy.
64, and those boxes are beautiful. They're
They are.
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous.
They
And,
are.
also the console in the box is usually a standard console,
Hmm.
right? So once you throw the box away, who knows, right?
Yeah,
The
what it
box
Yeah.
was.
made that set special. That's what
Mm-hmm.
makes the box special, and it's also that's that beautiful artwork. It just needs to be preserved, or at least if it's not preserved, an image reference to see what
Yes.
was.
Right. Yep. I 100% agree. So I think we'll go ahead and dive into some news. We've got a good chunk here this week. Obviously, one of the biggest ones was that E3 was officially canceled. With
Right.
having Sega back out now and all the other bigger companies, Nintendo's
Mm-hmm.
out, PlayStation,
Sad.
Microsoft, all those guys had backed out. Yeah, as of now, they're officially canceled. No, said something about that there are no plans to return for the foreseeable future. We will be something about updating. They'll be updating more later on or something. So I don't know. There might be like a chance that they could do something online or something, but I just don't. I don't think that these companies need it now with what they're doing.
No.
Xbox has their game showcase, PlayStation has their events, Nintendo Direct. Obviously, all these companies are doing their own thing. So
And I looked into it a little bit myself, and I've seen some, pretty level-headed takes on the whole thing as how
sure.
it's more economical for these individual companies
Mm-hmm.
to host the event themselves. Doesn't cost the money to fly people out and supplies and make all this ad stuff and buy a space. They can just do it online, and it costs very much less, almost nothing. I see that and I understand it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just one of those people that's like, come on, bring it back,
Yeah.
keep it going. But maybe they can rebrand and give us something new.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because like we used to take off of school and I take off of work even later on like for this couple of days for E3. Like it was a big deal. Like we loved E3 here. It does suck, but obviously I see that like a physical event like that is not needed anymore, and it really hasn't been for uh, a long time. To be honest with you, these companies have been doing like
Yeah.
these online events. I mean, Nintendo Directs have been happening since 2012, so
Mm-hmm.
over 10 years now, and like it's just not needed, I guess. So I don't know. Kind of sucks, bums me out, but it is what it is, I suppose.
Basically.
Yeah.
We had this was an interesting one. Yesterday was April Fool's Day. We got Sega announcing the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's a real game. It's available on Steam for free right now. They said it's
Mm-hmm.
only going to be free for a limited time, but there are something like 10,000 plus people streaming the game last night, and
Wow.
like they, everybody pretty much says it's a pretty cool game. It's like like sort of like Phoenix Wright, I guess. It's kind of like a very story
Okay.
driven, sort of game. That's kind of the concept I got with it, but yeah, it
I might check it out.
looks pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I'll have to
Yeah,
check that.
yeah. It looks like my phone is uh I got my voice up and it's updating the notes on here. Brandy, you want to take out that next news there? I'm sorry, I gotta stop it here.
We also
Oops.
got so Limited Run announced Night Trap for the Game Boy Advance. And that was available, I guess, for yesterday and today only. So it's very interesting to see another Night Trap announced on another Nintendo system, as we all know that that was sworn to never happen.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, that was their whole tagline with it. It'll never come to a Nintendo console.
Never.
Here we are
But
in
here we are.
2023
Never
watching
say never.
watching Limited Run put this out for the GBA. It's the
Yeah, I
lowest
think I
res
have it on the
version of the
Switch.
game too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the Switch one, I'm pretty sure, because I got the little card with it.
It's on everything now. Vita,
Yeah.
PS4,
Wow.
Xbox One, like it's on everything. Yeah,
Gotta love it.
I'm the game's like stupid. It's like very stupid but fun. You know what I mean? Like it's very dumb when you get like
Mm.
these ninjas coming in that are like demons or something, trying to take this girl. It's terrible. Looks like we got a couple people here in the chat. We've got Retro Coop says that Alter Beast Genesis console box is classic,
Yes.
or the Sonic 1 version. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Todd Freeman stopping in to say hi, everyone. Hey, Todd. Thanks for coming in.
Howdy.
Appreciate it.
We have another big news topic. So we have now. I knew it wasn't just going to stop, with the collector's edition. I knew that we needed more. So, Tears of the Kingdom, the OLED. We have the Switch,
Ah,
Yeah.
the Pro controller, the special edition case, and 20 minutes of gameplay showing the new mechanics of the game and what's different about it. So I
Also,
think
the
I think
amiibo. I did forget about that. They announced the amiibo as well. Yeah, the game looks.
I forgot those were still a thing.
Yeah, they're still popping off. It's sold out. I tried to. It went up on Target for a little bit today. I tried to nab it, and it was sold out when I tried to get it. But yeah, it looks cool. I mean, weird mechanics where you can like essentially, I don't know how to explain it. Kind of fuse everything in the game together, so you can fuse like a random stick on the ground with like a blade from the enemy or like their bone, and like it fuses together in like a weird weapon, and like you can do different
That's
things with
cool.
all of this. Yeah, and there's like I don't know what you call it. It's almost like a teleportation thing that Link can do. It showed Link flying like through the sky, so going to the very top and basically going anywhere on the map that you want to go.
huh.
It said that there was a lot of other stuff that wasn't shown, I guess, but it looks cool. I mean, the mechanics look neat.
Was that mechanic a lot like Breath of the Wild's mechanic of flying?
Um,
Kind of like
it
hang gliding in a way?
it was like the paraglide, yeah, yeah, but it was different. It's hard to explain. You'd have to
Hmm.
watch it, but
Yeah, I
he was
definitely.
able to like send wind up to keep staying up in the
Oh,
air, and so like you could pretty much
okay.
go anywhere on the map that you wanted at like any point in time. So it looked pretty cool. Um, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. It's my most hyped game for this year, so
Mhm.
I just want it to
Okay.
come out now. I'm tired of looking at stuff. Let's play the game.
The console's beautiful, and the
Oh, it
Pro
is.
controller is too. So, high hopes for the game to be good.
Yeah.
And keep those boxes.
Yes.
I feel like
Don't
you're
throw them
pointing.
Yes.
I
away.
feel like you're pointing at me, Brandy.
You heard it here
Listen,
first, guys.
I didn't just buy a box. I bought a console box online today. What is wrong with me? I paid for cardboard.
It's vintage cardboard.
Vintage cardboard. I mean, it is vintage cardboard. Special. You can't make this cardboard anymore.
Right.
Some,
True,
it's true.
because you'll know if it's like a repro. People
You
are
smell it. You can
remaking
smell it.
all these like standees and stuff too, and
Yes.
I'm like, oh no, here we
Which
go. Like,
I've I've got a funny story for you guys after you're done with the news and stuff, if we got time about that.
You're more than welcome to go ahead. Let's hear it.
yeah, we got
Oh,
plenty
all
of
right.
time.
In my many adventures of trying to track down box images, I happened across a listing in Spain,
Hmm.
and it is the most pristine example of this box I've ever seen. And you know, to to double down on that, somebody actually owns it. Currently, I can get images, right? I messaged this guy through a contact of mine because I have a lot of people who who hit me up all the time. Hey, have you seen this box? Send me a link, send me a screenshot or something. And I was like, hey, can you reach out to this guy because he can speak his language? And
Sure.
otherwise I could just do that and I just have to type in
Mm.
the translate. But anyway, he tries to be all sneaky about it and ends up messaging this guy, and it upsets him a lot.
Wow.
He gets very upset, right? And so he comes back to me and tells me, oh, he said he's not going to send us anything. He blocked me or whatever. I'm like, oh, dude, what
What
what what
happened?
happened?
Yeah.
So I go through all the hoops to sign up for this random site, and I get on there and I find the listing and I message the guy. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, my dude that messaged you upset you. I told him about my effort and what my project is about and what I do. And he just went on and on and on about how I'm trying to steal images of his box so I can make repros and we're all the same, all of us repo people. He even
Jeez.
changed his listing and took half the images down that he had taken of the box, right? And he specifically listed, and to any of you funny guys or whatever that are trying to make repos, I will not send you images. And it just turned into a big mess. You
Oh
meet a
no.
lot of different people trying to do what I do, and some situations can turn that way. I've had a few people that ignored me and blocked me right off the get, never even replied back to me or anything, just blocked me on two different accounts.
Jeez.
Um, so yeah, it's crazy. But with the repro stuff, the guy was accusing me of trying to lower the value of his box, because he knew it was rare, he knew what he had, and it was crazy. I finally worked out a deal with him though. I calmed him down. We became cool. He's actually following me on Instagram,
Oh
crazy
wow.
enough, and he will send me a full set of images once the box is sold. So he kind of trusts me and kind of doesn't.
Gotcha.
Whatever. I will be getting a set of images as soon as that sells, thank God. But man, that was just one of the couple that have turned into an absolute nightmare.
Huh.
Wow. What's he asking for?
um, I think he's asking 650 for it. And I think that's in whatever currency his country is in.
Right.
So it could be
Mm.
more, could be less.
Brandy's got a pretty cool standee that's still boxed and sealed that she she doesn't know what to do with. How do you display a sealed standee, right? Like how does that work?
Yeah,
It's like
I don't
a
even.
it's a complicated situation because I wouldn't open it either. But it's like at the same time you got like a cardboard
It's like a
box.
brown generic cardboard.
Yeah,
So it's the Mike Tyson Punch Out standee from the Nintendo Entertainment
the
System. It's
really
about five
cool.
foot nine.
Oh wow!
It's of Mike Tyson, and I stumbled upon it on Facebook Marketplace. This guy had it listed for like $70. So
Wow!
I went screaming out of my house, hopped in the car, told someone like, "Let's go," just so I'm not going by myself. And no questions were asked. I already started driving the 2.5 hours, and I didn't
Wow!
have like any change. I just had like 20s. So I was like, I don't even care. I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna get changed. I'm just gonna go there, meet the person, get the box, because I don't know if it's real or not. But I don't want to take that chance.
Yeah,
So I
Right,
meet
right.
this guy, and then right away he gets out and he's like, "Oh, it's still sealed. I got this back in the day when I used to work here. My brother got one as well.
Wow!
He opened his, I kept mine sealed, put it in the attic, and then he takes his knife and goes, I can open it for you to show you what's in there." And I'm like, no, 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 no,
No! No! No!
no,
No!
no, 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 no.
No!
So
No!
I go to give him the $80 and I'm like, "Do you want more?" And he was like, "No." And I had, I think, like a couple $100, and I went to go give him and he's like, "No, no, no." Like, he's like, "Let me see if I have the change for the 80." And I'm like, "You can keep it. Like, do you want more?" And he's like, "No." And I get home and I'm like, "There's no way this is like real." And like I look at it, I take pictures, I post it. Then someone offered me like
Wow!
just under like $10,000, and I'm like,
Whoa!
and I'm like, it's cool, but I don't want to open it now. And it's like
Right.
literally just a cardboard, like thin cardboard box with like the sealed sticker, tape on each side. And I'm like, what do you do with
Wow.
boxes?
Uh, I guess, yeah, that's kind of hard
That's a complicated situation
to
there.
get around, right? Because sometimes with a collector's item coming in the original shipping package, a lot
So,
of people like to keep those together,
Yes.
oh yeah.
because that's even more rare than the boxed item. So yeah, I totally understand how you're having a hard time with that. And on the backside of that, that's I don't know if it makes me a bad person or not. That's my favorite kind of seller, someone who doesn't know what they've got.
I mean, it is for me too, but see it. I don't know. That's also a complicated situation because like it's not if you're
Yes.
paying what the person's asking, there's nothing wrong with that. But if
Right.
you've got
Right.
something like crazy, like I've definitely like paid more before for
Hmm.
stuff that's like crazy items, giving people like a little bit more or something. But if you're paying what they're asking, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not being slimy or
Right.
anything, but
Now,
it.
No.
to be fair, I thought it was like several $100s to maybe like 1,000. So to be fair, I did not know that it was that much. And
Right.
I and
Right.
then I have been offered to buy like other things like that Nintendo fiber optic sign that I got. The guy only wanted $100 and I was like, "No, no, no. Where's the closest ATM?" I went to the ATM, got the whatever it would let me take out, and then I handed it to him and was like, "I will give you this for it because this is all I have." And he was like, "I only wanted 100, but that's fine too." So
Okay.
I always feel guilty about those things, but I do appreciate a deal when I could get a deal, but I also
Right.
like if I know things, I have a hard time battling with that because I
Yes.
feel like that's bad karma and I don't want that.
Right.
Well,
Right. And
I've also
yeah.
not bought something. It's like $10,000 for the collection, so that's a little bit different there. And you
Right.
also, I mean, that doesn't really have a value. The value is what somebody will pay on something like that
Yeah,
too.
and
You know
if
what I
it's not
mean?
for sale, let's face it, if it's not for sale, then because like, am I ever going to sell these things? Probably not. If I find an open one later, then maybe I would potentially sell something to be able to afford an open one to display and then get
Right.
that in the hands of someone who will preserve it unless I'm going to be that person who preserves it. So it's like it just depends on like where I'm going in the future type of thing, I guess.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And the moral dilemma is definitely something that I battle with sometimes too. I've come across some people who had no idea what they had, and were asking pennies, in
Yeah.
comparison to what it was worth. And there's been a few times where I was like, I gave them a little bit more, and they were, or I didn't have exact change like you, and I was just like, just keep it.
Hmm.
I feel
Yeah,
like that kind of evens out my karma a little bit.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you
yeah,
almost
because
always
I
do
I've
that.
lived with the regret. I've lived with the regret before of like how I undersold myself on something
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
egregiously. A couple times I've made deals where I didn't know the value of it, didn't research it, and just let it
Mhm.
go, and then come around a year later, it's worth two, three, four times more than what I paid for it. I'm just like, "Ah."
Yeah, yeah. I had
So
that just
yeah.
a few years ago. I sold a sealed Virtual Boy carrying bag. Um, so I mean, obviously, as you know, like Virtual Boy stuff is like very scarce,
Mm-hmm.
but this
Mhm.
carrying bag, there have been none sold on the market since 2010, and
Wow.
you
Wow.
just can't even find it opened. And I undersold like way undersold. I sold it for
Oh,
$100. And yeah, somebody's like, yeah, I would have paid $1,500 for that for my collection. They
man.
said that was the only thing that they were missing accessory wise. I have not been able to find it for like 10 years. I was like,
Wow.
oh my god, okay,
Wow.
well that sucks.
And that's another thing too, is like where do you find the value of something if there's a huge gap?
Yeah,
Mhm.
If it's not
exactly.
an item that moves very often, how do you evaluate what it actually is worth?
True.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's just crazy.
and the last one that sold for like it was like $20 or something. So it's like
Oh,
it was just right before that COVID boom too, right? Like
ah,
prices been going up,
yes,
but that 2020 just
right.
Really
As soon
skyrocketed
as it
caused,
was
everything.
yeah.
like that, and then 2020 hit, it's oof.
Yeah, that's crazy. We got any more news?
We do have a couple people in the chat real quick. We
Yeah.
have the Retro Coop saying, "That's a classic, Stan. You only live once, so open it and enjoy it in your home. Maybe
Oh
one day."
no.
And then just my opinion, but do what you feel. And then we have, okay, they're also saying, I opened my sealed Solar Tarobo,
Solitarobo. Yeah.
yeah, DS game just to play it. And then even Warhead 900 was saying, man, I have a sealed Pokemon Black 2 that I wanted to open so bad to play, but instead I ended up picking up another copy.
That's the
So
way to do it.
yep,
That is the way to do it.
That's what I would have
that's
did.
probably the best.
Or if you just want to play the game, sell your sealed copy and fund that copy and have a little bit of extra money. I've done that many times.
That too.
Because I'm like a weird one because I don't chase after sealed games by any means, but I also occasionally pick up like the limited run or like these different releases and I don't open it, put it on the shelf. So it's like I don't go after sealed games, but there's certain things that like I don't mind. Like there was the second PSVR 2 game that came out. They only made 200 copies of it. I was like, I'll grab that. It's
Wow.
$30. It was $30. It was an import game. And I was like, yeah, I'll put that on the shelf. And then I bought it digital for $10. And I'm happy.
Absolutely. That's what's a win-win.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
the game doesn't cost $80 and, you can get it digitally. Sure.
Who knew that we'd get, there's like these weird releases like on the PS5 that are actually like $30 all the time, like $20.99. And it's pretty cool to see that in 2023 when we're getting $70 games now.
Right.
Very true. We also, in news, we have the new Tetris movie on Apple TV. So I did see the trailer to that. Actually, my coworker showed it to me because they were like, "Oh, Tetris video games, you might like this." And I was like, "Oh, that's what that's about." So it actually looks pretty good. It looks different than I guess what I had like imagined. Because when you think of Tetris, you think of like all these different colors,
Right.
and you just kind of think of like this like cartoon or something. I didn't know it was like a legit movie. Like,
I don't know
in my
that.
head,
I don't know that I've ever thought of a Tetris cartoon.
well, like the little blocks though. I just in my head I imagine something completely different.
my
Like with the
God.
way that movies are going now with
Right.
Mario and Sonic. Like I just didn't know what to expect.
You heard it here. We need
Yeah.
an animated Tetris movie, guys.
No, we
Yes.
do not. Not snow.
Oh God! Did you guys ever see that fake trailer they made for the Dig Dug movie? It was like a big thing on YouTube. It went viral. It was like this Dig Dug movie. It was just like a fake trailer. It was like
Huh.
No.
pretty early on. Yeah, it just looks like super stupid. Check it out after the podcast. It's so funny. But yeah, I mean, the show looks really cool. I'm gonna watch it this week. I'd like to check it out. It looks neat. I like the whole, just like we were talking about earlier, the whole stuff behind Tetris is like this whole weird story. I've dived into it before, so I kind of know what it's gonna be talking about. But it's very like complicated and crazy. The whole story behind Tetris. So it could be pretty interesting to watch.
I'd like to check it out too, because the backstory behind how Tetris came to be, I really hope that they do it justice.
Oh
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yep,
We'll have to report back at a later time and let everyone know how it is.
Absolutely.
We even have Carl in the comments saying the Tetris trailer really does look cool. Love the story behind the release of the game. And then even the Retro Coop is saying selling is definitely a good choice. I'm just too lazy, haven't sold anything yet. Don't want to deal with strangers at the moment.
I don't blame you. Yeah, selling is it can be stressful if you sell a lot of stuff too.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, man, I just want to quit. That's why people end up just selling collections, because they don't want to deal with piecing everything out and the listing every single item. Like, it's a lot of work to sell stuff. So don't blame you.
Yep. Very true. Then I don't know if you guys saw this too, but it's crazy how we're in 2023 and there's still prototypes being found of like these unreleased games.
Yeah.
So there are two noted. You told me right before here about the Ghostbusters game for the 360. It was like a canceled Ghostbusters game in 2017. So I haven't heard of that one or seen that one, but I did hear about.
I don't think it was 2017, right? It was like 2013. Maybe I think it was before that actually.
Maybe I put the wrong.
I think it was 2005. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't 2005. I don't remember. But regardless, there was a It looks cool though. They dumped the ROM for it, so you can check it out now. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff, and preservation, like that's a big deal. So
Absolutely.
Yes.
I like seeing that happen. It's a cool story.
Yeah, the one that I did see though was the Conqueror's one for the Nintendo 64.
Yes. 12 Tales of
Yeah.
Conqueror.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so cool. I love those development cartridges too. Can we just talk about the long development cartridges for the 64 and how
Oh
they
Yeah, I have
yeah, those are so
they're
cool.
like
yeah,
they're
I
jack.
have one. I have Sprocket, so it's Rocket Robot on Wheels. But I have the prototype for the Nintendo 64 before they changed the name because they couldn't get the rights, and they were originally going to call it Sprocket, but instead
Yes.
they had to drop that and change it to Rocket Robot on Wheels. And mine is currently undumped. So mine does have some differences, but I'm trying to figure out what the differences are without messing everything up. And I need someone to like help me
I can help.
professionally.
I can help you dump it. I've dumped games before.
Yeah, I don't
We'll
want to
get
accidentally
together
delete
for
something.
yeah. Yeah, we'll do that when the conventions come up. We'll plan on doing that. Bring my laptop or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
not too difficult of a process.
No, I love
Hmm.
seeing people do that though, because there are the people that will, and I don't like this. There's a couple people I've seen defend it because like you can do whatever you want with what you buy, but I hate the people that just buy it purposely to not dump it and be like, hey, I'm sitting on this thing that you'll never have or see, or we
Oh
don't care
yeah.
about
But just
the
for money purposes. Like,
exactly.
I'm the only one. This is
Right.
rare. Then they sell it later, and then it goes
Hmm.
for this. No.
Yeah,
Right.
that's terrible. Like that, I've seen that happen a bunch in the community too. So yeah, there's people that are sitting on things just to sit on it and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm the only one in the world with this, and I don't care about prototypes or anything or other people being able to access this or yeah, that bothers me a lot. But that's cool to see these getting dumped. I love seeing it. It's happening all the time. I know a guy that's working on a project for dumping stuff from the original Xbox demo discs and
Hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation Underground discs, all those, the Dreamcast discs, like all those, dumping all that stuff. So
Right.
I love that. Cool stuff.
Actually, speaking of that, there's a Gamebox UKV just came into a mother load of XDK discs from the early days of
Uh,
development of the original Xbox. He has an original set, a complete set of every recovery disc from the XDKs from May of 2000, I think it was, or 1999, all the way up to the last one that they issued for the original Alpha 1 and 2 PC Tower development consoles. He even just acquired those.
wow.
It's a pretty amazing time for his collection right now.
That's
Interesting.
insane. Very
Oh,
cool.
yes.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I had oh god, what was this game? It was a PS3. I can't even remember the name. It was like very throwaway game. Um, that was a prototype. God, what is that game called? It's one of those like aiming games that you use like the gun controller for. But
Hmm.
anyway, there was like it's basically just pretty much the game before it came out with like differences in like text and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Nothing like major
Oh,
as far as the game. But yeah, so I sold it to a guy that went and covered it, and literally he just typed up all the differences with the text just to have that preserved from the
that's
actual
cool.
release of the game. So like he cared that much, and like I just didn't have the time to do that and going
One
through all
more
Yeah.
that.
I,
thing
But
about preservation.
that's
Uh, do you guys know of Andrew Borman? Uh, he's one of the curators for the Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. They do a
hmm.
lot of
hmm,
stuff preserving prototypes and early um, versions of games that have been dumped on development consoles. And they do some pretty amazing work, and their catalog is incredible.
Nice.
that is really cool. I'm gonna have to check
Yeah.
that out because I'm all about that stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for the life of me, I can't find in person. So I have a couple Game Boy prototypes as well. Samurai Showdown, and
Cool.
then I think it's like F-15 or something like that.
Samurai
I
Showdown.
can't find those games anywhere in person to save my life so that I can play the original and then play that and see what the differences are. I can't find a loose copy. I know that they're on eBay, but I've been trying to find them just like in person.
Wow.
And for the
Okay.
life of me, and they're not even the most expensive games. It's just I just can't find them. And I've been looking for like probably a couple years now, and I just can't find those games
That's
at
cool.
all.
I love Samurai Showdown. Yeah, I love fighting games. Period. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to see if I keep an eye out, see what I can find. So Samurai Showdown. What's the other one?
I think it's F-15.
Oh, okay.
Something.
Yeah. That's a relatively
Strike
common
is it
game.
Strike Eagle or something? No, maybe it's not that. It's on Game Boy.
Yeah, I'll have
I'll
to.
have to take a picture of my prototypes.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Send
yeah,
it
just I
to me.
can't find them, and every single time I think to look, I'm like walking out the store, and then I like look briefly, and I'm like, no, I don't see them, and then I just maybe at a convention or something. Those will have to go at the top of my list so that I
Yeah,
don't forget
we both got to
about
make up lists for that stuff. Yeah, that put it at the top of the list. You won't forget. Like, hey, this
my
is what
list.
I'm
Will be
looking
like
for. her
my
list.
list will be one of
Her
those.
list is 6 pages long. It's got
Yes, it'll be a
320
CVS.
items.
You guys have a CVS there, the drugstore,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
pharmacy. I'll have one of those receipts as my list of things because they're always so long. They're really long.
My to be fair, mine is too. My list is so long that I forget about things until I see it or
Yeah.
somebody
Oh yeah.
brings it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that was the thing that I've been looking for. I've got those top items, those things that I don't forget about and I'm always looking for it. Daggone GameCube keyboard has evaded me for
Oh
years.
man.
I've been looking for years. That's one of the last three things we need to do to set up stuff. But
I'll
uh,
double check. I think my game stores might have it. I'll double check
yeah,
though.
let me know. I've been looking. I can't locally. I mean,
I feel like I've
online.
seen one of those somewhere.
Didn't you say you have one?
No, I think I just have the Dreamcast.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know if I
You've
have
got
the
that
game.
I got
chainsaw controller, right?
Yeah,
both of
Yeah.
them.
That thing's
yeah.
cool.
She got
I
everything. When
got
you
a
bring
lot
it
of
up,
weird
she's
controllers. A lot of weird stuff that unfortunately does not get a display area just yet. Um, Sadly, a lot of things are in like little cubby bins, like at the bottom
Uh,
of my console wall. But I would love to have everything on display at some point.
that'd be really cool to see. The showcase even.
Yeah, that's my plan in the future. The
I've been
next house.
yeah yeah the next house, and then it'll be
That's
the
what I
next
keep.
house again, and
And
then
then the
it's the
next
next
house.
house.
The
I'm
next house.
trying to
And then the museum.
rehabilitate her, but it's been a struggle. So
Buy a
nothing.
warehouse, a small one.
Well, that's also the plan.
Oh
Like a
my god.
museum style.
Yes.
So it'll be
Yes.
like the next house, and then probably like museum/store, so that it self runs itself, so that we don't need investors, and I can do it all myself.
Mm-hmm.
Working towards these things.
Another thing like that with a massive collection. I just I follow so many people that collect in like different niche categories and stuff and preserve. You guys heard of the Last Gamer?
Yes.
Yep.
He's an Australian.
Yes.
Yeah, his collection's insane.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
What
amazing.
he dropped off, right? He just disappeared on YouTube. Didn't he?
He did quite a bit. Hasn't been too many updates. I check his channel
Because he
periodically,
built a whole
very rarely.
house, a
But
whole arcade
yes,
for he
Yeah,
has.
different
yes,
rooms.
Yeah, it's
added
crazy.
on rooms and it just kept expanding on his house. And the last video I remember watching of his, they were putting all the stuff together on the walls and talking
Yes.
about how much it would cost to maintain it. And I can't remember exactly what his issue was with continuing it, but I know he wanted to make it a museum and keep it that
Hmm.
way. I'm just not sure where he wound it up with it because he was supposed to make videos and just dropped
Yeah,
off, like you said.
he put an update out because I think that was the last video if I remember right. Like I've been
Hmm.
subscribed to that guy for a while. He put
Yeah.
an update
Same.
out saying that like the maintenance cost was just like too much and it
Right.
do it. So like I've wanted to do the museum thing too for a long time. I've talked with other people about it, people that would want to get involved and have
Hmm.
are into the weird stuff and like I'm into the really obscure stuff. um, it's really hard to do like what Brandy was saying to have something
It
kind of
is. It
self-funding.
is.
Like you've got to really have a plan nailed
Yeah,
down, and
because got
it's
to keep it clean. The
yeah
environment has to be, kept to a certain
Exactly.
quality, the air quality, and everything else, or
Everything.
even if they're kept out of sunlight and in a building preserved, it over time they're going to decay.
Yes.
Dust is going to cling to the items over time. It's going to destroy them in some way. It's just so many factors, and yeah, keeping it clean and safe is priority.
And then
So I can
insurance,
just imagine.
security,
Yeah,
investors, bringing new stuff in, keeping it interesting,
right.
changing it up. There's
Uh,
like a lot, but I would dedicate my entire being to that. So it's
100% same.
it's just
yeah.
when it's not if it's going to happen for me, it's just when it's going to happen. So that's something that I'm obviously trying to get
So
together a little bit more.
You've also
I
the other
said if I
thing
was.
you've really got to have the right area and to put
Mm-hmm.
every single thing on display that you want to
Right.
like it needs a space. So like say you're displaying NES games, like you can't just have like a wall of the NES games, right? It doesn't work like that
No.
if you're trying to preserve
Yeah,
them.
you
Well,
have
then you're going to have a museum for
applications,
just
signage.
NES. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem, right? You would need minimum like 150 rooms if you are trying to dive into like TurboGrafx and Master System and then you
Right.
get into the Ataris and ColecoVisions and
It's
Intellivisions and
insanity.
yeah, it's just it's a lot. So what a solution for that people do is putting multiple museums in like several places. So they've got like
Mm.
part of what they have here between the donors and people involved in like this
Right.
city, and then they've got another part of the collection and museum in this city and like stuff like that. It's really hard. Like even like John Hancock has been trying to work out the museum stuff for
Yeah.
ages, for years. I mean,
The immortal.
the immortal. I mean, he started talking about that in like 2010, 2012, or whenever he started. It was like a thing that he started talking about. And then it's just a lot, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
something I would
Props
love
to
to
him.
do too. Yeah, yeah, it's very cool
I
stuff.
just got reached out to not long ago by somebody who uh he he told me that he had just gotten all the permits and all the other stuff put together to find a site, and he's got funding to create a museum in California.
Oh,
And he reached out asking for some information on Xbox consoles, which made me feel kind of nice, about
that's
my efforts.
awesome.
And So we could look forward to very soon seeing another museum pop up in California, I think in the LA area. So that's really cool.
That's
Yeah,
very
that's
cool.
awesome. That'd be cool to see another one too. I'd like to go through and
Oh
kind of see
yeah.
like where all the different ones are, actually start going to these places.
Oh yeah,
We also
Oh
have
yeah.
some more comments too. Let's see. I guess one of the ones I wanted to hit, the Retro Coop. Do you guys own the Wu-Tang controller for the PS1? I want that yellow I want the yellow controller so bad now that it's pricey.
I used to have
I have it.
Oh wow.
it. It's very cool. It's
Oh yeah.
unplayable though. You cannot play with that controller.
It's so light too. Like I thought it would have
It
like weight
feels
to it,
it feels
but it
cheap
feels cheap.
almost. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
feels
feels
very
That's
cheap.
unfortunate.
like
Yeah,
it's like a thin
very thin
controller.
plastic and yeah, very lightweight. I
And
imagine
I
Exactly
that
my
that
favorite
board
color.
and that is very very small and like there's yeah, it's just
I'm
a
sure cuz
throwaway
Oh yeah.
design.
it's
Oh yeah.
very light.
Probably light green and smells fishy.
Love it. Yeah, it is cool though. Definitely you wouldn't want to play Tomb Raider or anything like that on it, that's for
Oh no
sure.
no 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 no.
Also said, LOL, that scammer. Good luck with that. Said, awesome. Glad you have it. And Carl said, I have the Wu Tang Taste the Pain game on PS1. It's so awesome. That game
Oh
is a
wow.
very interesting game.
Mhm.
That's a console that fascinates me quite a bit. Like I'm kind of anti Sony, and not because of my bias for Xbox. It's just I don't know. I've never really cared for Sony that much, but I love and have a fascination for the original PlayStation One. Uh,
Mhm.
just like the game library is incredible for it, and what it did for gaming as a whole was a whole nother thing. And that would be one that I would actually entertain collecting or doing some kind of play and review of. I've been looking at buying and modding a PlayStation 1 for a little bit here.
Oh yeah, the X Station. Go that way. That's the way to do it.
Oh yes,
Yeah, that's what I have. Just play everything on it.
100%.
It's cheap and it's cool. There's a company that just put out new shells that like just dropped for that, like this clear blue and see
Yes.
through
I've seen
Very
white.
those.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, they just dropped them. You can buy them on Stone Age Gamer, but very
So
cool.
I've been caught between the first gen with the big giant port on the back. I can't remember what that port's called. The
The
parallel port. Yeah,
yeah.
the big parallel port version.
Okay.
And then the small one. There's different things to modding those, and then there's also the PSX, which I've
Yes.
also been interested
Yeah.
in,
Which
and I'm not sure.
I was just gonna share this picture. I'll see if I can pull it up while we're
Oh,
talking. But my buddy
sweet.
just got one, and so
Oh,
I
that's
don't know.
sweet.
Do you know about all the issues with those? So they essentially
Um,
die, and there's absolutely nothing you can do with them.
yes.
There's no fixes for
It
them.
was. There's just so much in it that it's so
It's
special,
a
I guess, with the
it's
way
a
it was
massive
designed.
piece of hardware. Yeah. So
Yes.
um, he actually sent us out some of the 3DO ODEs, and he's working on some other stuff. He just designed the ODE. It's not released yet. It's going to be out for
Mm,
public to buy soon. But basically brings that back to life and lets you be able to play everything
that's
on it.
awesome.
Use all the controller ports, the control, like the remote and everything for it. So that's going to be dropping soon. But that's massive
Okay,
because those are being
that
just
is.
thrown in landfills. Like there's nothing you can do with them. In
Yeah.
Japan, they're just thrown out like they're junk because once they die, there's nothing you can do with them. The DVR functionality is non-existent,
Right.
so people just see it as trash, and yeah, they're just being discarded. And I've seen pictures of like literal like just big dumps of those things before, and
It's sad. It's sad.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, there's people that will try to grab them up to save them in case there is a fix, and people have been working on it for years. But it's cool to see that something like that is still happening, and all these
Oh,
systems are getting all this treatment.
that reminds me. Another forgotten era of consoles was like the multi use console, where like the PSX was a PlayStation 1, a PlayStation 2, and a DVR set top box or whatever all in one, right?
Yeah,
Then you also had calling back to the GameCube, the Panasonic GameCube.
Panasonic
Yeah.
Q. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
beautiful
just like
piece of
this
hardware.
weird stuff. It is.
That is
Any
probably one of the most
either of you have one
beautiful.
or ever had one?
I have not. I would love
No.
to.
Mm.
I would love to. Brandy.
Not yet, sadly. Don't have
Not
one yet.
yet.
I was
Yes, the
expecting
key
a.
word.
She had it.
No, I know. It's disappointing to hear. I don't have it.
Oh,
I almost had one, but it had like tray issues. So I was like, well, let me
mm,
wait and get a better one. And
Those are
then,
so
understood.
easy to fix on that though. They're just the rubber
see, I
bands.
didn't know
They're little
anything.
I mean,
bands.
it is.
Yeah,
It's
the little rubber band. I know. I had to get all my Xboxes reset because they get all
Yep.
they're not a circle anymore.
yeah.
They get like this long ways and then they get stuck and then you're like
Hmm.
Yep.
hitting it.
I know
So
nothing about that.
that's
Yeah.
like all of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that's a very cool console though. I love it.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I know somebody. We talk about the boxes multiple times, but I know somebody here locally that has a Panasonic Q box that he's just sitting on. He doesn't
Oh,
care about having, and he wants
Jeez.
to do some kind of trade or something for it. I've been trying to work that out for a while. I keep forgetting about it, but that'd be cool. I think the box might be rarer than the console. Maybe it's pretty cool.
absolutely. Like, yeah, but with as much passion as I have in boxes, it's not just the Xbox that I've focused on and looked at. I see how scarce some of these other ones are, especially ones like that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
crazy rare. Like, jeez.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. No doubt about that for sure. Brady, what else we got?
I think it's our last news thing. We had Marvel's Avengers game no longer being supported after the final update.
Mm,
Yeah, I played it when it was new. I played through like the base game. There's like a as soon as you finish the game, there was like a whole news story you could do. I stopped there, but what they put out, they just pretty much like threw everything out. Everything that's been made for it's free now. So all that paid
Mhm.
DLC is all
Yeah.
free. They said we're done. We're not supporting it anymore. So like if you care about that game, grab that stuff up. I guess everything that is free is on there, and it's kind of
It's not
cool.
one of those games that's dead once the servers are cut. You can still play locally, right?
I'm pretty
Mm,
sure that you can. Yeah, you can still play the game, but it,
Okay.
it does have that what do you call it? It has like those servers for like the multiplayer and stuff like that too. So yeah, that would be
Right,
cut
right.
out. But yeah, no, you could still play the game, the base
mm,
Okay.
single player, which is cool. That's all I played. I never tried the multiplayer. It was cool. It got a lot of hate. I can't even remember why. I liked it a lot. That was one of those games we were talking
Hmm.
the other day. Like don't some of these reviews that come out and stuff. Like I just sometimes I try to avoid them and just try the game out for myself.
Right.
And that was
mhm,
one of those few that I just tried the game and I liked it. So
mhm.
eventually a game like that's going to be it's not going to keep being supported forever, so it's to be expected. But
True.
yeah,
We also have the Retro Coop saying, you're in for a treat with the PS1 whenever you're ready. Also fun stream podcast tonight, very chill. And
mm-hmm.
then they said, y'all don't care about WrestleMania tonight, LOL. Were you guys ever fans of pro wrestling in your life?
When I was a kid, I
So,
was. I'm still Stone Cold for life. For life, he's my wrestler. But no, I don't care anymore.
yeah, I
Got out
used
of
to
that
watch during that time frame too. I'd say like the Nintendo 64 era.
Attitude era. Is I like that.
That's
Oh,
that's when I used to. And I used to go to events all the time. We had them all the time around this area. And me, my dad, my brother, we would always go. We had so much fun.
They're
It'd
fun.
be a blast.
They're fun to go to live. They're cool.
Undertaker, lights
oh
turn
man, I can
off.
just imagine.
It just really gets you.
Yeah,
It was a fun time.
it's like a giant soap opera with men with their shirts off.
Pretty much. Don't forget the baby oil.
Oh, in the baby oil. Yeah, gotta have that.
uh,
Gotta
Me
love it.
personally, I never got to experience the WrestleMania stuff. Once again, religious, strict family, brawlers won't get into heaven kind of stuff or whatever it was. uh, but we did get into UFC when that became mainstream. So, tables did turn.
Isn't that
So,
hilarious how they turn like that? It's the same
yeah,
way
and that's
here.
even, that's a blood sport.
Mm.
Yeah, I like UFC. That's
UFC is great.
yeah. I'm a big
Like you
UFC
being
fan.
Stone Cold for life, I'm Lydell for life.
Mm.
I just like Stone Cold's character. I think he's a cool dude too. I always like watch all of his. He had
Oh,
that
yeah.
that Broken Skull Ranch. That was pretty cool. I don't know.
He's always been a great showman and seems like a pretty chill dude, too.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Now
well,
we just have a couple
couple
I guess we
small
already talked about the
topics.
one, but I have a question about this topic. What is your all-time video game console box that's like your favorite? Which one like stands out, whether it's for Xbox or not? Is there like a cool variant or something that you just love, or childhood one,
Uh,
or?
I would honestly say, through my research, my favorite that I've seen, because I've honestly I've cataloged 180 or so of these boxes at this point, across all I really the most unique one too, I would say would be the Halo CE and Splinter Cell double pack. Um,
Okay.
that was released, I think, exclusively in Spain.
Mm.
And that is one that I've just recently come across that actually is extremely difficult to find. There's very few left, and they don't exchange hands very often. I know of two that have exchanged hands recently, and I was in the loop and talking to both the buyer and the seller during that. And there's actually one. Only one side of the box was shown on YouTube. Once again, the boxes aren't cared for. Um, just saying. The Relaxing End. Have you ever heard of him on YouTube?
Mm-mm.
Great
Not sure.
YouTuber.
I don't think so. Anyway.
Unboxes items. Great style. They did an unboxing of every Halo Xbox.
Oh,
And
okay.
as a bonus, at the end of the video, he unboxed that version, so you get to see it in
Oh,
4K, but only the
nice.
one side. But anyway, the box itself is very unique. It uses concept art from Halo CE on the entire face of one side, and then on the entire face of the opposite side, it also uses the concept art for Splinter Cell. So, a very cool box that
Oh, it's
came
like a
out,
split
and
box.
Yeah.
yes, on the front, one side, the whole face is printed the concept art of CE, and then on the whole face of the other side, it's the concept art for Splinter Cell. Really
Huh.
cool.
That's cool. That reminds me of like those game cases that would sometimes be split that were, like double packs. They'd have
Yeah,
That's
one.
true. Yeah.
right.
Reminds me of that.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. I just gave that channel a sub, so I'll have to check out some. Looks like he just did one
Hmm.
on the Resident Evil 4 remake
Great channel to
collector's
follow.
edition.
I love his style.
Very
Listen,
nice.
listen,
No
GameStop.
fluff.
GameStop needs to give me my money back because they taped
Uh-oh.
my collector's edition. There's a giant rip on the side of my collector's
Mm,
edition. Listen, for a $300 item, there's no reason I should have a rip on the stupid collector's edition. They will not refund
absolutely
me.
not.
I sent pictures and everything. I'm
Mm.
ticked. I'm ticked.
I hope justice for that,
Yeah,
please, because that's an atrocity, especially with collecting.
get
Mm.
for
Uh,
something that expensive. Come on, man. Like
right.
intentionally, there's still four more pieces, and I'm talking like big pieces of tape still on there that I'm not
Right.
even going to touch because I know if I even try, it's going to rip.
Yeah.
So
Oh man,
it's
that brings
irritating.
me to something else. I could rant about this for hours. Stop putting crap stickers directly on collector's items, packages of
Yeah.
collector's items, or game guides. For God's sake,
Anything.
please just
Look at
stop.
this. Look at this. Hold on.
Those old school GameStop stickers that they'd stick to it and
I
they
don't
they
care what it
always tear
is.
off in 3,000
GameStop, don't do
pieces.
this. I just got these today. Why are they still
Mhm.
doing this? Why
Yeah.
Ah,
are they still doing this on cardboard?
it's okay if it's fresh though. Take a heat gun to it and gently peel it off. But for the love of God, if it's something old, look up ways on how to remove the sticker first. You will destroy what you have if you don't.
Yes, he will.
Exactly.
They just should not put that on that stuff at all. And if you're going to put it on the actual plastic, but
Yeah,
I don't
because
get
then you
it.
could use something to get
Yes.
the sticky off.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of retro stores in my area though, and I really love their approach because I've gotten some guides from them that weren't destroyed,
Hmm.
because of the sticker. They put a post-it note
Yes. That's what
Yep.
mine do.
on the front and they stick the price sticker on the post-it note,
Yep.
and that is
Yes.
amazing.
Yep. That's the way to do it. I know a retro store here in Columbus, Ohio that that still puts it direct. It's not like the the good removable
Mm,
tags. Still puts it right on there.
Mm.
It just blows me
yeah,
away that people still
we
do
all
that.
know that sticker.
Yeah. Crazy.
A sticker that would stick to a non-stick pan.
Right.
Mm.
Oh man, it's terrible. What's
Yeah, but
your
I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you have another question?
No, I was just going to ask you guys. I was talking with somebody the other day about this. What is your thoughts on like old? I don't know. Say it was like a old Toys R Us or old Blockbuster tag on something. Do you leave it
Ooh,
on there? Do you remove it? Like if you're able to, like on a case, something that you're actually
right.
able to remove it on. What do you do
That's a
I
tough
in
one.
said situation?
I started leaving things on things. Now, when I went for my full N64 set, I refused to keep any stickers on any of the games,
It's a
like the
must.
cartridges. So I took all
Right.
of those off except for one. My Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut on the back side has my childhood Blockbuster sticker on it. One of the ones in my area with my area code number on there. So I will never remove that sticker, even though it
That's
looks like it
acceptable.
already started to be like peeled up, and it would peel off perfectly fine. But I want to keep it there for nostalgic purposes. But like toys, if they have the KB sticker and like some of the other like older Toys R Us ones, I will keep them on there. As long as like they don't look bad, like but if
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
on there, like a lot of my turtle stuff will have
I've just started doing that too.
things on
Started
there.
leaving some of that stuff on there.
Yeah,
It just depends. Like, yeah, if
yeah,
it looks
Yeah.
bad and it's like, browned or yellowed really bad or looks ugly, then,
Right.
I get it removed. But I've
Or
started
it's
leaving
gotten wet
stuff
and the
on.
ink ran.
Hmm.
I like the Blockbuster stuff now because I worked there for 4 years, and when I was there when they closed, and
Oh,
it
wow.
just kind of takes me back a little bit. That's still my favorite job ever, even though it was what it was. It was still fun,
Right.
man. We got to take home movies and watch them, and games before street date. Like it was cool stuff. Got some cool swag there. Got my first
And
standee I ever got to take home. Like it was really cool
you know
stuff.
what? Blockbuster was kind of a supporter of the gamer too because there was exclusives.
Yeah, yeah,
Blockbuster had some exclusive games.
yeah, yeah. They even had exclusive movies. I don't know if people know that, but yeah, I've still got a
Oh,
few of
right.
those from when I worked there. But
Mm.
they did. Yeah, there's different games they'd have exclusives for. It's pretty cool stuff.
Oh, and Toys R Us. Toys R Us had exclusive game guides.
Mm.
Oh, didn't know
So
that.
that can go on the other side of that coin. And it really died out in the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 era, so you don't really see that beyond then. But yeah, if you look at game guides for Nintendo 64 and so on, every now and then you'll run across one that's like a Toys R Us exclusive on the bottom or the side of the face of the guide. It's kind of cool to see. So I think honestly, you bring up a good point there. That's an acceptable sticker to leave be
Hmm.
just because the tie.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean if like it's something you're keeping for yourself, and
Hmm.
there's a blockbuster tag on there, and it gives you some cool memories when you look at it. Leave it on there.
Absolutely.
Do what you
No,
want
I
to do.
definitely agree. We have just a couple more comments, and I guess we'll probably wrap it on up. We have the Retro Coop saying, "I use Gugon, etc." And then Carl saying that is a special sticker on Clay Fighters. Brandy has a cool story behind it. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
also it. As long as you have like a story and it means something to you. And
Hmm.
then the Retro Coop. I haven't bought much retro stuff in the past 5 years. I mostly buy current stuff, and eventually it becomes retro.
Hey,
So
there you go. That's one
that
True.
way to
that
look
It's the
at it.
truth.
And when it's retro, you can't play the game anymore.
You got to think
so
about it. Physical discs are going out, so
mm,
buy them up as you can.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, for sure. All
But yeah,
right.
if you have anything that you want to, quickly plug or where people can find you or just anything that you're working on that you want to, shout out, just let everyone in the chat know.
Absolutely. Basically, you can find me anywhere that's thinking inside the box. I worked really hard to make sure that that name was attached to everywhere that I could be at. You can find me on Facebook as Thinking Inside the Box, Instagram. I do a podcast of my own. It's a audio only podcast. My distributor is Spotify, so they allowed me to get on 9 different platforms. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, practically anywhere that you want to listen. And then also thinkinginsidethebox.com. It's not complete yet, but if you're interested in my preservation effort, I would definitely visit there periodically. You can also listen to the podcast on the website. And yeah, just if you want to follow and see the updates as they go, I don't hit it as hard as these guys when it comes to sticking to a schedule. There's, a few days out in the open that I tend to miss here and there, but it's all for good. It's to make sure that I put out the highest quality content that I can. So, yeah, if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, definitely look up Thinking Inside the Box anywhere and everywhere. It's pretty much pretty easy to find.
And please do, yeah,
And then
please check out all of his socials because it's awesome. Love what this guy's doing.
also, I represent the Xbox community too as an admin on the Xbox modding and trading and
Nice.
general community. So definitely check them out too. They are a definite good resource to look for with tips on preserving your console, maintaining
Mhm.
it, buying items that these guys in our marketplace that are approved by us to be there and that are reputable sellers that make their own items and they can keep your stuff going for as long as you want it to keep going. So definitely give them a check out too.
Absolutely. And we'll have everything down in the description below for you. The community, the Xbox community, is down in the description now. We'll have everything else for all of his socials down there too. And we
Awesome.
appreciate everybody watching this week. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It was such a great podcast. Loved it. We
I
definitely
appreciate you
appreciate
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for checking out the podcast live. And we'll see you guys again next week.